Hey all, Tracy Novick, Worcester School Committee. We have a couple of meetings coming up this week, so I thought I would give you a rundown on that. First, I did just want to say though, got over 300 signatures in this week, so certified for being on the fall ballot. So thank you to everybody who helped out with that. If you still have signature papers, yes, I will take them. Having more is never a bad thing. So thanks again for that. In terms of meetings this week, there is a Finance and Operations Subcommittee meeting Monday, 5 p.m. A lot of things on that agenda. The first is the various auditors report. There's the report from the auditors that look at the student activity accounts. They do 3 years at a time. There's also the look at making sure that we as part of the city government are aligned with the federal standards for how things are processed, and there's so there's multiple sort of reports there. The short thing is that there aren't really any major findings. There's a couple of making sure that transactions are recorded properly, or the paperwork trail is proper for the student activities reports, but other than that, there's really sort of not a lot there, so I think that will probably go through pretty quickly. There is also the third quarter report, and obviously we've had a lot of sort of major shifts in terms of where the money needs to go because of whether or not we have transportation and the sort of changes for both technology and for staffing. One thing that I think will particularly be of interest to secondary school families, remember we had asked if we could cover caps and gowns and tassels. That is in there. Cover AP tests. That's also in there, although that's coming out of Title IV. So you might want to take a look at the third quarter report if that's of interest. There's also a couple of reports that have to do with facilities and with HVAC. We actually still are running off of the report that we got at our very first meeting around Columbus Park, which of course kicked us off with talking about HVAC prior to the pandemic. There is some reporting on there. There's also a report back on what we might do with the federal funds that are coming through as part of this third round of ESSER. So take a look at that. The answer effectively is that we're working with the city to get something looked at in terms of the HVAC systems, which is kind of the other part of the HVAC system, like the non-ionization work, going above and beyond that. There is an update in terms of the timeline on the student information system. As you might remember, we had to go back out to bid because of something that happened earlier. And then finally, as we had talked about on Thursday, there is an update on student transportation, which obviously becomes more and more of a concern the more students that we have going back into buildings. So that is also on the agenda. I believe that Mr. Foley would be happy to take testimony if any of you have testimony, particularly around that. So that's all Monday, starting at 5. Don't be intimidated by the backups in terms of the agenda. Most of it is auditor, so a lot of the other reports sort of fall later, farther into the 171 pages of the agenda. We do have a joint executive session with the City Council again at 7. That's on the lawsuit around the election of school committee. Obviously, I can't say anything more than that, but if you see sort of a blip of us somewhere and then we disappear, it's because we always have to open in public session before we go into executive session. And then we will not recess back out to public session. So just FYI, should you see that come up. The third thing is that we do have a regular meeting again on Thursday. Remember, we postponed our previous meeting because of some of the religious holidays. This would be our usual meeting at 6. Report of the superintendent on an update on the strategic plan. So you might want to take a look at that, see what you think of what's coming back in terms of that, if it's what we need, where we're going, that sort of thing. I have some opinions on that, but I will save them for Thursday. There will be, of course, another discussion and update around questions around students going back into buildings, how hybrid's going, what the planning is for the first week of May. This is our last planned scheduled meeting prior to the elementary school students shifting to either that 5-day remote or 5-day fully in plan for the first week of May. So certainly that's on the agenda. And then the other thing that I did want to mention is that on Wednesday, the House Ways and Means budget comes out. So we had Governor Baker's budget in January. The House of Representatives comes out with their budget next. And from the local aid agreement that came out this past Wednesday, it's looking like the hold harmless enrollment is not included. So I sort of put an item on the agenda that's sort of like hey, we should talk about it, even though we haven't seen the budget yet, because we won't until Wednesday, because I'm frankly already concerned. So we will presumably have something of a conversation about that on Thursday as well. If any of you are doing any advocacy with, in particular, state representatives, starting to do some organizing around that would be really crucial. So keep an eye out for that. I absolutely will post around the House Ways and Means budget as soon as I see anything. Should be coming out usually around the middle of the day on Wednesday. So that is what is up for Worcester School Committee meetings this week. If you have any questions or if there is anything else that I should know about, as always, please get in touch. Thanks.